try not to hit that.
This is In My Opinion with Ray Dosky and NFL legend Bernard Pollard.
That's right. You know what time it is. It's time for In My Opinion. I'm your host, Ray Dosky, and alongside me as always, can I call you Bone Crusher just once? It's my boy BP. What's up, my man? You got to get that laugh out of you, dude.
I might punch you if you call me that.
It's been a week, man. It's been a week.
It's been a week.
Yeah.
You've been on the West Coast.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. For what?
I went out there for my sister's wedding.
Okay.
It was great times. I mean, that's, you got to do the family stuff from time to time. But, hey, it was a lot of fun. We got to hang out, see the family. Was out in L.A., saw some boys of mine out there as well. So it was a lot of time. Short visit, though.
Short visit.
It was I was only there 5 days, but, I was over.
Bro. 5 days is not a short time.
The problem is with LA, I'm so over LA, after the second day. I don't see the hype, man. I know you used to live out on the West Coast. And you and I talked about that. I'm not used to the West Coast. I took my little guy to the Lakers game. Yeah. Got to see the last, I think it was the second last preseason game against the Timberwolves. I was there that night when they saw the whole Russell Westbrook all the way from while Patrick Beverly's trying to wave everyone, man, the crowd was letting him have it. So, yeah. And,
I watched a little bit of it.
Yeah. It was crazy, and then we got to hang out, but I'm 10 minutes. It took me 42 minutes to get to 10 miles. Are you kidding me? 42 minutes?
Dude, that's my wife when she used to go grocery shopping.
Yeah.
And literally would take her hours in traffic. And
a day.
2 or 3 exits. It was insane. So, yeah, we quickly realized, you know what? And this was during the lockout. So, we quickly realized LA was not a destination for us.
Yeah.
And it was pretty funny. One of my old teammates, Jared Page, he's from Oakland and
yeah,
a really, really good friend of mine. He always just kind of was just like, Bernard, the West Coast is where it's at. Mm-hmm. Man, we get out there. I was like, bro, this is not it at all. Man. So, yeah. So it's crazy. Bro.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, after 2 days of being in LA, I was good. I was good. Mm-hmm. But we went down to San Clemente for a few days for the wedding and stuff like that. Now that, in that area, beautiful. Little Spanish little town. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So, yeah. But I'm glad I'm back. I'm back in the Southeast. I'm back at home, back in Nashville, back with you. In my opinion, it's back again. Talking week, 6?
It's a lot of backs.
A lot of backs.
Yeah.
Yes. And a couple of teams that have their backs against the wall. You're just saying, but if you look at the NFL this weekend, full of what? Upsets, right? I mean, the NFL is nuts right now.
I don't like it, but go ahead.
Just looking at the teams and everything that's going on, the mediocrity, it just has been lackluster. I come back and I find out that Alabama's lost to UT after 17 seasons. I'm like, oh, college football is still in full swing, but the NFL, no, that's nuts. Completely nuts. I mean, we're 1/3 away from the season.
I can't college football. I can't watch college football. So to hear you talk about it, to see the excitement on so many people's faces about college football, I don't get it. And I play college football.
Yeah,
that's the crazy part. So it's nuts.
Well, 1/3 of the season's already over, and we're gonna try to make whatever sense we can of what we've seen so far, because we always talked about who do you think is separating themselves, what have you, in this league. You always tell me, Ray, it's too early. Is week 6 now going to week 7 too early now? Is this where we're starting to find teams, starting to kind of find out? Because look, there are some teams that surprised this weekend, and we've kind of put it out there, in my opinion, on Twitter about who we're going over to talk, who we're talking about this weekend, over the past weekend's matchups, if you will. And you start looking at these teams, you're like, okay. The Jets, that looks so good. Eagles, you know what? I'm not even going to start. Let's start with the Eagles and Cowboys. Let's just go ahead right into the Eagles-Cowboys right now. And Eagles remain undefeated. Mm-hmm. Go against this Cowboys defense, which, might I add, big divisional game. defensively kept them in close in this entire game. It looked like the Eagles were about to run with it, and the Cowboys defense, who I feel, and Bernard, you're a defensive mindset guy. Are they legit? Is this a legit defense? Because you did talk about Diggs a few weeks ago. Yeah.
I do believe it's a legit defense. Yes, I'll say yes with that one.
And looking at this, the rivalry, I mean, the Eagles did what they had to do. It was a close one. Right. It was a really close one. Cooper Rush did what he needed to do. Kept them in the game. Cowboys in that third quarter came back, put up 17 points, kept the game close, and unfortunately, the rest is history. Jalen Hurts, MVP candidate this year. We all can see it. I mean, the guy's playing lights out for that Eagles offense. Right. Went down there, knocked the game, said, you know what? Checkmate, Cowboys. And we saw what Nick Cicero said on the sidelines, the head coach of the Eagles. He's like, that's how. I'm not going to say it on social media, but like you can fill in the play. You go look on Twitter about what he said. He's like, that's game ball. That's what he said.
Look, this was the Cowboys defense is real, and I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago where we said, you asked me were they pretenders, and I'm still going to say that I'm still going to say they're pretenders, right? I look at this team until they show me that they're capable of hitting postseason and playing well in postseason. They'll forever be pretenders to me. And this game was a good game. I think Philly is probably one of the most complete teams when you look at NFC. I look at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is playing. He's playing well right now. He's playing really well. He can hit you he can hurt you, and he can hit you with his legs and his arm. I think this team has done a great job putting so many players around him. And he has playmakers. He's got playmakers everywhere. This Cowboys offense, Cooper Rush, I think a couple games ago he showed. I mean, so many people talked about him being a starter or a backup, and is this a quarterback controversy? And
that's put the rest now.
Put the rest. I mean,
it was a non-topic.
No, but I never ever looked at that and was just like, okay, this dude is capable of beating Dak Prescott out. He's not. Cooper Rush is a backup quarterback. 3 interceptions in this game, 18 for 38. I mean, if you look at a couple games ago, he should have threw 3 to 4 picks. They were called back on pass interference calls, which a couple of them weren't. They weren't pass interferences. But he seems to put a lot of balls behind the guys, and it carried over into this Philly game. And this is probably one of the best secondaries. And I agree with Will on social media today. I mean, this is probably the most complete secondary in the National Football League, the Philadelphia Eagles. And Cooper Rush went, like I said, 18 for 38, 181, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and no 3 interceptions kill you. He had guys running open, and he just, underthrew them and threw it to the wrong team and, making a lot of mistakes. But, I think this, when Dak comes back, I think this team is going to be a lot better. But at the same time, before Dak was hurt, Dak was doing some crazy stuff. So, I look at this Philly team. I think they're real. I think they played well. Jalen Hurts 15 for 25, 155, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He actually was sacked 4 times. And I mean, we all understand this Dallas Cowboys front four and this package, they can get after you. I think they do a really good job if they decide to blitz. But that front four is phenomenal. And anytime you got number 11, Michael Parsons, running around and lining up everywhere, that front four is fierce. So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I thought this was a really, really, really good game. I'm trying to make sense of what this Dallas Cowboys this team is going to look like when Dak come back.
Who's supposed to come back next week against the Lions.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's probably the best team, and then they're going to bye. So I think this is the best team for him to come back and kind of because. And this would be the game of Dallas.
Because the Lions can't stop anybody defensively. We talked about that in our last podcast. Defensively, they struggle. They can put up points, but they can also give up some points.
But at the same time, I mean, this might be a game where they come in and be like, "Yo, Dak, we gonna hit you around, hit you, and this may not be a good game. I don't know. Do you keep him out another game? Let Cooper Rush handle it, or go ahead, throw him in the fire right now to see how that thumb.
Well, it's safe to say that many believe that Eagles proved why they're the best team in the NFL. I do not believe. I know they have the undefeated record. I get that, but I don't believe they're the best team in the NFL. One of the teams I feel like is the best team in the NFL, we're going to talk later in the podcast, is that, yes, the secondary for this Eagles, James Bradbury, what an addition. He came from the Giants. Yeah. Paired him up with Slay.
Yeah.
Very underrated. I mean, you look at what this team, like, what they were able to do against it's the most balanced team, arguably, probably in the NFL right now. The Eagles, absolutely.
Right.
But when you look at this Cowboys defense, you just talked about like how they're solid. 4 to 6 games, giving up over 120 rushing yards a game. What do they need to do, like in terms of like to improve that? Because there's probably some concern, especially for Cowboy fans or what have you, in terms of not being able to stop the rush, and it feels like that's become the Achilles heel so far on that Cowboys front.
Well, Ray, when you look at this Dallas Cowboys defense, they're not built to be dominant in the run game as far as stopping the run. They're not built for that. They are built to get after the quarterback. They're okay. They can make some early pushes, early downs to swing around and get after the running back or whatever. But they're built to put them ears back and go after that quarterback, and that's what they do well. So they're I've talked about this with a lot of people when we come to this discussion. They are undersized. Defensive tackles, defensive ends are sufficient size, but when you look at the D tackles and just that beef interior, they're not built like that. They can their stunts, their games, everything else they run there, they run phenomenal. Mm-hmm. They do a really good job with that. So this defense is not built to be dominant as far as stopping the run. They have guys that can run, that they're looking, okay, we got playmakers that can go chase running backs down and get them. With Micah Parsons, you can put him on the ball, off the ball. You can line him up in the middle, but you could disguise him. And that's a big discussion where a lot of people have been talking about, well, Micah Parsons can play anywhere in the defense. Micah Parsons needs to be rushing the quarterback. He did a really good job as far as he had a pass deflection in his game. They lined him up and he busted out to the curl flat. So that was good, but I think when you look at this team, they are relying on athleticism to go get anybody that's holding that pigskin, and that's what they do well. I truly believe they do not want to be a team. I mean, anybody wants to be number 1 or top 5 or top 10
absolutely.
Rush defense, but they're not built for that. I think they're okay with that because the run, as it gradually picks up throughout the game, the big plays and everything else, that's going to kill you. Mm-hmm. The run game, if it gets out of hand, obviously we understand that the run game can hurt a team. But, you're going to have to continually pound this team down and run the ball 25, 30 times to actually beat them as far as running the ball. But, when you got a mobile quarterback like Jalen Hurts, and they're not facing that a lot. Jalen Hurts is mobile. He can throw. He can run. And so I just think, that's kind of that's what it was. Miles Sanders is a good back. He went for 71 yards. Mm-hmm. Jalen Hurts went for 27. Gaineswell went for 25. Mm-hmm. And Boston Scott went for 16. Mm-hmm. So this is, something where you're looking at 39 carries, 39 touches to run the football against this Dallas Cowboys defense. That's what you're going to have to do to beat them. It's just it's kind of crazy, but I think, like I said, I think they're good. I really do. I think they're good, but I think they're built for the pass and getting after that quarterback, and that's what they do well.
Well, when you look at this defense for the Dallas Cowboys, upset. We just talked about the Detroit Lions. Yeah. You talk about DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams. We don't know if Swift's playing. Then after that, they get to the Chicago Bears. Mm-hmm. Both teams 8th and 2nd in running offenses in the NFL. Right. So they're going to have their test, very early in terms of that. But now they're starting to get a little healthier. You're getting a Gallup who just came back. Dak Prescott. Will he need to play like a Cooper Rush for the next few games just to manage the game a little bit as he gets his feet wet? We'll rely on that double-headed monster between Pollard as well as Zeke. Let's see what happens there. But, yeah, if you look at this team, 4-2, hey, they're right there. They're in the thick of things. I mean, when you look at this NFC East, crazy competitive outside of Washington because now Washington, I told you. That's what I was trying to tell. Now they got Taylor Heineke and everyone. I bet you a lot of fans
he's gonna play well. I think he's gonna play
because
well.
he's been a starter. He was a starter last year.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So he's gonna do what he needs to do, and I feel like he fits to what I think Scott Turner wants to do.
Right.
So it might be a blessing in disguise. See what happens. But in terms of blessing in disguise, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the game that everyone had pegged this past weekend. Mm-hmm. Bills Chiefs. That, my friend, was the game I had my eye on. The Bills, my friend, my boy Josh Allen, outdo Mahomes. Hey. Look, Mahomes, he did some magic, whatever you want to call it, in that game. Magician. But guess what? The Bills caught him on his act. Very end of the game. And Allen takes down playoff rematch from last year against the Chiefs. The Bills, to me, my friend, are the number one team in the NFL. Hands down. Tell me I'm wrong. Oh, you better tell me I'm right because I'm waiting for the.
When I can kind of agree with you on that when you talk about complete teams. I mean, this game was. I mean, you were here while I was sitting there watching it and taking notes. This game was really good. I mean,
could be any script. It couldn't be scripted any better.
I mean, when you look at as far as offensive weapons, play calling, when you look at just throwing the football, receivers making catches, 2-minute drills. I mean, freaking A. Buffalo went down in the first half, had a 2-minute drill that was almost flawless. Mm-hmm. And they give the ball back, I think it was 22 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, if that, to the Chiefs, and they got a 62-yard field goal off that.
Right.
2 seconds left.
Right.
I think when you look at these teams right here, these teams are, if they're not playing in the AFC Championship game, I'll be surprised. I honestly will be surprised if you do not see these two teams. I don't think anybody in the AFC can match up and stop their offense and then beat. The only thing I see right now with the Kansas City Chiefs is their defense being a problem. Their defense being an issue. I mean, watching this game, I mean, Buffalo went down the first half. Sometimes you see this Chiefs defense where they step up and make stops. And I think, was it Steve Spagnuolo? Like, he makes his halftime adjustments are outstanding.
Second and none.
Yes. Literally, when I watched the Chiefs play, I'm like, that was terrible football defensively in the first half. And then you come back in the second half and you look at, okay, wait, he just changed a couple things up. He moved a couple players here. He kind of, made some things, disguised some things. And so he does a really good job. So first half, I mean, it almost was it reminded me of the Minnesota Saints game some years back, where Diggs caught that ball and went for the touchdown. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're looking at a Chiefs defense that's allowing things like this and just giving up, touchdowns. And but when you look at just the quarterback play, these two guys are the best in the NFL right now playing, Mahomes and Allen. There's not one other quarterback that I'm going to put up there with them. The confidence that they're playing with, the way that they're extending plays with their legs. I mean, freaking A, Josh Allen is running and he is reckless. I mean, he's taking hits. He took a hit lower back and
he's leaping over people again.
Jumping over people. I mean, like, this dude is playing reckless. And I mean, we all say, okay, well, is that sustainable? Because that's the same thing I say about Lamar Jackson. But is it sustainable? Because you see the reckless play early in his career, and then now you see him where he's kind of starting to understand, okay, pick and choose when I'm going to do this and do that. But you see the confidence that he's playing with, him and Mahomes. I mean, just the mobility, that they have, the ability to be able to throw the ball on the run, the ability to be able to extend plays, the ability to be able to, just fit balls in tight spaces. I mean, this was a phenomenal game. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal. When you look at what Andy Reid is doing, how he's... I got to talk about this because the Chiefs... Mahomes and Kelsey, the trust that those two have. And then when you look at it, Josh Allen and Diggs, the trust that them two have. I mean, it is phenomenal. Stephon Diggs, 10 for 148. 10 for 148. Kelsey, 8 for 108. Like, Juju Smith-Schuster had 113 on 5 catches. He had a 42-yard game, a big gainer. But this right here is, this was like I said, a really good game. 0-0 in the first half, and then they both scored 10 in the second quarter, and then you just see them just chop away at each other. Mahomes made some mistakes. Both of them made mistakes in their first drive in this game, and they come back.
It was far from perfect,
right,
absolutely.
Far from perfect, but
yeah.
I mean, this is what I think everybody is expecting to see when it comes playoff time. AFC Championship, these two teams are going to be there. Defensively, I trust the Bills more than I trust the Kansas City Chiefs. Offensively, it's a toss-up because you're seeing the confidence with both quarterbacks. You're seeing the confidence that the players offensively have in their quarterbacks and the way that they're blocking. I just, this is going to be a good one, man.
Here's my thoughts about the whole Buffalo Bills team. When you look about this team, it was a good performance. I mean, they went into Arrowhead. Yes, like we talked about. It wasn't perfect, especially when they let the Chiefs mount that 16, play second drive for the field goal at the end of the first half. I mean, there were still some issues there. But they went in there, they ran the ball, they threw it deep, and they made plays on deep. Yeah. I mean, you could not ask anything more than that. If you look at what this resume with this Buffalo Bills has done, they've beaten the Chiefs, they've beaten the Rams, and they've beaten the Ravens all on the road. Yeah. That resume itself, that's pretty competitive. And look, when you look at in terms of like the AFC West, watching these two teams play against each other, it was basically a stark reminder of where the AFC lies right now. It's literally the Chiefs and the Bills, and then it's everyone else. It really is. I mean,
now, I do.
Can you tell me who the third best team in the AFC is right now?
I agree with you on that one. I mean, it's these two teams.
Yeah.
There's not one team, in my opinion, that has the offensive power that these two teams got.
Which is wild to me because look,
it's crazy.
And we're not even talking about Von Miller.
Yeah.
2 sacks in the game. Because there was concerns like, is he going to be able to live up to that contract that he signed?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That contract helped him beat the Chiefs. Von Miller, that gave him that money to go get after Mahomes, and that's exactly what he did in that game.
He's disrupting quarterbacks. He's disruptive in the backfield. I mean, Von Miller's playing really well. This front four, period, for the Buffalo Bills, they're really freaking good. The linebacker play, I think the two of the best linebackers in the National Football League. When you look at secondary, they're young. They're making some mistakes, but at the same time, when you have a front four that can get after the quarterback like these, like this Buffalo Bills team, it helps that young secondary. And I was blown away. Literally before we got on, I was finishing up watching this film and just blown away at both teams. And I'm just looking like, wow, this is going to be a game. This is going to be a matchup when it comes to playoffs. If anybody beat them and knocked them off, I'll be surprised.
I mean, Mahomes, multiple interceptions, 4 games, all done at home. But let's talk about the whole landscape of how this AFC is starting to map out a little bit, because there was talks. Ravens, they got off to a hot start, pretty much had double-digit leads, and we're going to get to them next here in a few minutes on the podcast about where they're sitting at right now. Then you look at the Chargers. They're still trying to figure things out. They've not looked that impressive.
They pulled off a win.
Yeah, they pulled off a win, but I mean, it's the Broncos last night, right? Then you look at the Bengals. Bengals seems like they're starting to figure things out a little bit. Yeah. Offensive line doesn't be great. They put some money into it in the offseason about getting some free agents on that offensive line. Right. It seems like they're confident. Now it seems like starting to click a little bit defensively. Probably one of the more underrated defenses, I think, in the NFL.
Yeah.
Titans. Here come the Titans. Here come the Titans now. Probably a top 10 team because of all the coaching stuff. Now they've got it, and guess they get the Colts here coming up. We're going to talk about that probably later in this week in the next podcast about matchups about the Colts and them. But if you're one of these other AFC teams, I'm thinking like, do we have a chance? Like of those teams that I just mentioned, the Ravens, the Bengals, Chargers, Titans, any of those teams you feel like, and there might be a team that you can go outside that might has a chance that could probably compete against the Chiefs and Bills right now. Is there one you can name?
I mean,
they'll give them a run for their money, if you will.
As far as when it comes to matchups, there's nobody that's playing offensively with as much confidence as Mahomes, with as much confidence as Josh Allen. There's not one quarterback in the AFC that has that.
Right.
There's not one quarterback in the AFC when it comes to scheming wise that can go out and scheme as well as Andy Reid or offensively for the Buffalo Bills. I don't. Was it Sean McDermott? I don't think there's some teams that can catch them off guard. And I have to watch the way that I say that, because as I watch football on Sunday and I rewatch the film, football is so different, Ray. It's so different. Like,
Yeah, you mentioned that to me before. Like, what do you mean? Like, how?
So, I mean, when you look at these teams and you're like, okay, and we're going to talk about the Packers, and we're going to talk about other teams. But when you look at the Packers, when you look at the Lions, when you look at the Buccaneers, all these teams, you're like, okay, wait a minute, but like, what happened? Like, what happened? It's just one of those things where, I've talked to some guys that are in the personnel department and front office and all this other stuff, dealing with these teams. And you have a lot of prima donnas on football teams now. I mean, you had them before, but, it's just football, the way the practice is, the way the meetings are, just the way they in Baltimore, I was talking to, a good friend of mine, and the way that they do things and the stuff that I've heard how players communicate with the firemen that help out and volunteer to stay there. All of that is just so different. Mm-hmm. It's so different. And when I watch it, I'm watching guys try not to get hurt. I'm watching guys act like they're more hurt than they are to get a flag. It's just, when I watch it, I'm just like, dude, that sucks. Like, bro, just go play football. You got people crying on the sideline that a player got hit too hard. I'm like, dude, this is football. This is a violent sport. We're wearing equipment for a reason. Mm-hmm. But to go back to, when I look at a team that can match up with the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't see it. I really don't. Yes, Lamar is exciting, but Lamar is a one-man show in Baltimore. He's not going to beat anybody. He's going to be worn out when it comes to postseason play if they make it. But when we come to later in it, he's going to be worn out. Mm-hmm. He's doing too much, and that sounds weird when I say that about a quarterback. But when he has got the lead, he's got to run, he's got to throw, and then when he's throwing, he's got to run while he's throwing. Like, it's just too much. And so, I really don't see a team that can step in here, because the more they play, the more confidence they're going to build. I don't, and then, as guys comes off of IR and things of that nature, I don't see a team beating them.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I think the Bills and Chiefs is pretty much 1 and 1A. I think those are either team's going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Most likely will probably win the Super Bowl, because when you look, we'll talk about the East here in a few minutes about the NFC side, because I don't feel like the NFC is just a mess as a whole. Outside of maybe a few teams, outside of the Eagles, possibly could challenge this team. I don't think that even if you put the Eagles to match up against Buffalo or Kansas City, I think that would be too much of a challenge for them, especially with that young coaching staff and Jalen Hurts. I mean, you're talking about a balanced breakfast on the other side with the AFC teams, with the Chiefs and the Bills. But let's talk about a team in the AFC that surprises some people right now. And look.
Ray, go ahead.
No.
That's my fault. Let me stay in my lane, because I'm sure going to say
something
about this.
And I want to talk about both sides of both teams in this match between the Jets and the Packers. Jets winning 27-10 against the Packers. Back-to-back losses for Aaron Rodgers now. Yeah. Both to New York teams. Yeah. He went over to London, lost over there against the Giants, and then came back home, and then he lost to the Jets here the following week. You look at this Zach Wilson team. You look at this defense. Quinnen Williams.
Don't say Zach Wilson team.
Okay.
This is led by the defense.
This is led by the defense. Quinnen Williams.
And the running back, Hall.
Okay. You being a former secondary player, tell me how much you love Sauce Gardner.
Sauce is good. Right? like Sauce Gardner he's a good player. He's going to have to get stronger, and when it comes down to taking on blocks, I watched this game, and I watched him get tangled up with a couple tight ends, and Mercedes Lewis snatched him up. But
that's a big boy.
Mercedes a big boy, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to put Mercedes in his place and put his hands in. But once again, he's a corner. But Sauce is his footwork, his IQ, his man coverage, I think is you talk about top 5 to top 8 in the league as far as cornerbacks. His man coverage, he's got to work on his zone. He doesn't understand zone coverage, and that's tough sometimes, because in college, sometimes more times than not, you're going to put these top cornerbacks in situations where they're playing a lot of man coverage, and then when you're playing zone coverage, nobody's if you stay far enough back, nobody's going to try you, right? But when it comes to zone coverage in the National Football League, you're going to get tried. And you have got to understand how to play cover 2 when you're playing a squat corner. You've got to learn how to play palms when you got to whip the eyes around to get your head back into the out routes. You've got to understand how to jam and keep your guy inside to get him, reroute him back to your safeties. When it comes to fire zones, you've got to know and understand what you're doing. When it comes to cover 4, cover 6, cover 2, cover 7, cover 6, things of that nature. He's got to know the overlaps. He doesn't understand any of that yet. So when I watch Sauce play, he is really, really good in man coverage. He holds his own in zone, but you find him lost a lot. When you look at this Jets football team, Saleh did a good job, picking, him in the front office, they did a really good job as far as putting his defense together. This is probably one of the most athletic defenses in the National Football League. When you just look at pure athletes on paper and watch them run around and play, this defense, just like the Jacksonville Jaguars, I treat the Jacksonville Jaguars young, the New York Jets young and athletic. They're lost at times, but they're young and athletic.
When you look at Quentin Williams, right now, arguably probably defensive player of the year right now, averaging about a half a sack a game. He has been impactful in pretty much every game.
Yeah.
It starts up at the front, right?
Right. Look, and as we get more into this game, right, I can't, to be defensive player of the year, he's going to have to do more.
More? Okay.
He's got to do more. When you look at that award, when you look at that, what that brings, that the name of that, he's going to have to do some, he's got to be more consistent. And I think that's where I'm going with this Jets team as a whole. This team is very inconsistent. Yes, they won 27-10 over the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers, they can't find, they lack their lip chat in their pocket right now. They are disconnected. You see it from quarterback to receiver, quarterback to running backs. Linemen are just discombobulated. They don't, they're trying to figure their way out. Quentin Williams pushed the boy back, turned him around, and then put him in Aaron Rodgers' chest. So it's just things like that where, you're just like, okay, well, where's, and the Jets are 4-2, and it's crazy. They're 4-2, 3-0 away. But, this is a team where you're like, okay, well, I want to put you up there, but can you be consistent? Can you, Zach Wilson? He's young. He's 3-0 as a starter this year. But he's just throwing balls around. I was watching it. He hit a couple balls late, but as I watched him play, he was 10-18 for 110. He should have threw a couple picks to Alexander, I believe it was, 23 for Green Bay. But he's just, it was almost like backyard football for him. So Breece Hall, my goodness, this boy is good. I like Breece Hall. Him and Carter, I think that 1-2 punch with the New York Jets, phenomenal. I think they're phenomenal, and they're going to have to depend on the run game. They're going to have to work that play action off the run. But defensively, I think this team is going to have to be led, by this defense. When you talk about as far as team and how far they can go, they're going to have to be led by their defense. But the problem I have with that is you just don't know what defense is going to show up.
Right.
Because that secondary can be shut down, but that secondary you can carve them up too. And it's just like, okay, I just don't understand that. Them linebackers, my goodness. When you watch this film, I need everybody, if you get a chance, to go back and watch this Jets and Green Bay game. Watch freaking Quincy Williams. That boy was on fire. And I'm talking about hitting. Just the way that they were playing. The interior linemen disrupted this game. They had Aaron Rodgers shook. Hitting him, Williams was hitting him high, hitting him low. It was a good game. But when I look at this Green Bay Packers team, this is a football team. Once again, like I said, they're lost. Aaron Rodgers is still throwing the rock. He's throwing the rock well, but you just see a disconnect from him and the receiver.
Hold on. Let's hold off on the Green Bay talk quick because I got to ask you a question about the Jets. Okay, AFC East 4-2, second in the division.
Right.
Riding their first 3-game winning streak since 2019. They beat the Packers and they beat the Dolphins, who came in with a lot of hype. Much from myself as well. They got Tyreek Hill, Mike McDaniels. Till Tua got hurt. looked like the Dolphins were that next team coming out of the East.
Ray, they got a lot of injuries.
Okay, yeah, exactly. But hey, the Jets beat two respectable teams, with an average score of 67 to 27. Right. I ask you this, in my opinion, today, is it time to take the Jets seriously?
No. I mean,
no.
Look, forgive me. Pause.
Okay.
Hold on. Like my boy Brian, Brian be talking about I need a 20 or whatever that means in basketball. Brian's a basketball coach, but nevertheless, when I look at this Jets team, any team in the National Football League, you got to take serious.
Yeah.
So forgive me for that because you can't overlook anybody.
Okay.
And we got in a discussion where everybody was talking about. I mean, you remember? Everybody remembers years ago they talking about how Alabama can beat the worst team in the National Football League. Alabama gonna get their behinds.
Yes.
I mean, these are grown men that train specifically for football. They train to go hit. They train to cut. They train to throw. They train to break. They train to hit, doing bags of hands. This is what they do, right? So when I look at this Jets football team, I think the inconsistencies are the ones that's causing me to say they're going to be okay. I don't think that we need to be like, okay, are they going to knock somebody off in the divisional round, or are they going to go to the wild card? I don't even know if they're going to go to the playoffs because Andy Reid right now, if you play the Jets, Andy Reid gonna carve them up. I mean, I'm talking about.
But are they a sleeper in the conference though? Because we just talked about how the AFC, we're still making sense of it all.
But Ray, the conference is bad. The Patriots still trying to figure out.
They're 3-3.
They 3-3, but they got Zap, whatever his name.
And they're still winning.
They're winning, but at the end of the day, like, can they? I don't know. Like, so the competition, like, will the Jets play down to the Patriots, or will they continue to beat each other up? I don't think that's a division where they're just going to beat each other up. The Miami Dolphins was a team that I was concerned about going into the season because when you're dealing with injuries, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, I call him check down Teddy for a reason. Teddy Bridgewater is a good backup. He was a starter once in this league, but once you are found out and people exploit you, you are done. And I think Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, he's freaking he came in and took a hit to the head. I'm looking like, bro, you just got out of concussion protocol. Like, bro, don't go dive into the ground taking hits to the head. But, it's just one of those things where Tua needs to be under center for this Miami football team, for the offense to be what they're capable of being. Tua has got to be under center. He's really accurate. He's not going to wow you with his arm. He's going to wow you with his accuracy. As far when I say wow you with his arms, I'm talking about all kind of arm angles and throwing a ball 85 yards down the football field. That's not Tua. Tua trusts his accuracy, and that's what's going to allow some of these receivers, Tyreek Hill and a lot of these other guys, Waddle, to do what they do.
Right.
And so they need Tua back. Right. If Tua does not get back, this Miami Dolphins team they're going to finish either third or fourth in the division. But if Tua come back and he gained that confidence like he had at the beginning of the year, this team can be a team that knocks off.
But how hard it would be to bring back that confidence after sustaining a concussion like that? Because a lot of times how it goes, as a quarterback and a player, and you sustain something that severe, it takes a while to kind of like to get back into that playing mode again.
Right.
Or is it one of those where, like, when you say a player who's out for the year and they come back the following year, they're like, hey, you got to get that one good hit out of the way, right? And they're like, okay, I'm back, right?
It's, these are professional players, but they still go through things like this, right?
Right.
That was actually a really good question. So I think when it comes down to Tua gaining that confidence that he had before he got hurt, I mean, it's going to take him because, the way he falls, he's going to be thinking about that.
Right.
He's going to be cognizant on the way that he falls, the way that, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be some of the things that they're working on as an offense and with the quarterback's coach and things of that nature.
Right.
So, they're going to have to work on all of that stuff. They're going to have to figure that out. But, it's going to take him a couple times, where he's got to trust, step into his throw. He's got to trust when that pressure's coming up the middle to deliver that football. But once that confidence comes back, he's a warrior. Just like so many of these guys in the National Football League, they're warriors. So yeah, I think it's gonna be okay. I think he's gonna be okay. Obviously, I'm not in his head. I'm not the one taking the hits. I'm not the one delivering the hits.
Right.
But you would have to think that they're doing some stuff to get him ready. The blitz periods, practice. McDaniels is going to have to make sure he's getting him prepped and ready to go when it's time for him to get back on the show.
So it's going to take him a little time, and I feel like that's what the Dolphins are going to do.
Right.
Let's transition into the team that most of the NFL and much like their fans, and I think they're the ones who are getting hurt the most out of this.
Yeah.
And that is no. Let's before we talk about that, we want to talk about the Packers. Sorry, I wanted to get back on the Packers. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. I did. I thought we got to cover Packers, and then we got into the sidetrack with the whole Jets and stuff like that. Rewind. What is up with this Packers team? They just look offensively like they're just out of sync. Like, I don't know what to figure out with what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. Is the loss of Devontae Adams that big of a hit for him?
Yes.
Does it seem like Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are like on different wavelengths? I feel like they're not in sync.
I mean, LaFleur and Rodgers, they're going to continually, until Rodgers leaves, they're going to battle back and forth. That's inevitable. That's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. So Aaron Rodgers, 26 of 41, 246 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. He still can throw the ball.
To who?
Does
he need a receiver? Yes, he does.
He needs a reliable receiver that can be consistent, and I think that's what they're missing. I watch this game, and he's throwing balls out of bounds. Because he's not trusting. First of all, timeout. His O-line got that man beat up, right? He got beat up, by the rush. So that plays a part into, why he had to deliver a few balls out of bounds. But, it just comes back to the receiver play. Robert Tonyan had 10 receptions for 90 yards, and then Alan Lazard had 4 for 76, and the third man right there next to them had 3 for 25, and that was Aaron Jones.
But they had 6 drop passes in that game.
They had a lot of – Lazard has got to step up. I didn't realize how big he was.
He's huge. Like 6'4".
He's huge.
Yeah.
And, for me, he has got to step up and say, you know what, I'm going to be that guy to fill the shoes of
Devontae
Adams leaving. I don't have to be Devontae Adams, but I've got to – my play, I've got to be an outlet receiver-wise for my quarterback.
Right.
So that he can trust me. He can trust putting that ball in the air. Because Lazard should be he should be targeted probably 10 to 12 times a game. He should be targeted. Easily. He is a big target, looks like a tight end, runs like a deer, but he drops balls, hands like bricks. Mm-hmm. And so it's just one of those things where it's just like, you've got to play better, because you see him make some plays and you're like, dude, he's got it.
Right.
But it's just and that's the thing where we talk about the football, when we talk about the NFL, and Tom Brady talked about it, I've been talking about it for years. Football, with these rule changes, with all this other stuff, football looks bad. Mm-hmm. Football is bad when it comes down to the product on the football field, when it comes down to the front office, when it comes down to the ref. It's bad. It is awful. I think guys have got to do a better job being pros. They've got to do a better job being pros. I see more ice on the sideline with players that's playing and not playing, and I'm looking like, bro, like, why? Like, and that's just that's a pet peeve of mine. Like, I'm just, like, why you got all that bling bling going? Like, why you wearing all that? Like, to each his own. Like, wear that mess after the game. Like, we want to be seen. We want to be go play ball. Go play ball. You want to talk the most trash, but then you crying for a hit later on. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't. Football, the product of football is bad. It is really bad. And a lot of coaches that are helping that product be bad need to be fired.
Yeah, because when you look at this Packers team, especially with Aaron Rodgers, he
And I'm not saying Matt LaFleur.
No, I got that. I'm tracking you there 100%, Bernard. It's just that when you look at in terms of Aaron Rodgers, missing like throws that he always make.
Right.
Granted, like you spoke about, the offensive line just not blocking well enough.
Right.
And it seems what are the teams? It seems like opposite teams have caught up to what they're doing. It's either going to be Aaron Jones or AJ Dillon. We stop the run, we put fronts, play man, we're good. We stop them because no one outside in that wide receiver. Yes, Lazard needs to play better.
Yeah, he's got to play better.
Watkins needs to play better. I mean, it's been Robert Tonyan the entire offseason. Yeah. And you think to myself, if he really needs a wide receiver, there's a guy that's out there that's waiting to play.
Don't go.
I'm going to go there. Why not say OBJ? Look. Von Miller, he doubled down on his bets. Like he's coming to Buffalo.
I get it. They were teammates. They won a Super Bowl together with the Rams.
Yeah. OBJ to the Packers? That's it.
Odell is not going to play in Wisconsin. He ain't going to play in Wisconsin, brother. That ain't happening. He wants to be in a market where all his little dancing and all that other stuff, he wants that scene, right?
So it's either LA or New York.
That's what I believe. When I look at this Odell Beckham, as far as he's still, don't nobody know how he's gonna play. He's still coming off of an ACL injury. That happened how many months ago? It was in 2022, wasn't it?
It was in the Super Bowl.
It was in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's in February.
So, I mean, for all this hype, everybody talking about Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham going to be this. Odell Beckham going here. Everybody creating money and space for Odell Beckham. People better be careful because you bring Odell Beckham in and Odell Beckham can't make them cuts or he's not explosive as he was. All of a sudden, now you paying Odell Beckham to just be in the training room. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, and of course, if they sign him now, they can cut him because, as long as he wasn't on the roster before the cuts and everything else, that contract isn't guaranteed. But they're going to have, I mean, like he said, the Rams know what he want. The Rams know what he wants. So that tell you he ain't coming back for no pennies.
I don't know. The way I see the Packers, they look broken right now, and I don't know if there's a guarantee they're
not going to fix him.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a guarantee that anything's going to fix him right now because it just seems there's just too many question marks there. And I'm going to ask you a question later on the podcast about something about that includes the Packers, and I can't wait to hear what your answer is. But speaking about broken, now we got to talk about the next team, and I'm not talking about the team. I'm going to talk about
people. Going to take that. They're going to be like, "Yo."
I'm going to talk about their play in the fourth quarter. It's always broken, or the second half.
Okay,
is that safe to say?
Hey, go ahead, man.
I mean, hey,
your words.
Hey, this Baltimore Ravens team. I love Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
You same way. You look at this Buffalo, this Ravens team, double-digit leads in every game. Lost 3 of them. They were the better team against New York for 3 quarters again.
Right.
And what happened? Multiple interceptions, what have you. Now, this one falls more or less probably on Lamar, right? Because of the interceptions and turnovers, right? Trying to make something happen, right? I mean, you put something out on Crushboy 31 on Twitter about talking about this Ravens defense.
Yeah.
And talking about how they're a good defense.
They're really good.
I mean, you spoke about that, and you've been talking up the Ravens defense for some time on the podcast.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you. There was someone that follows us at M Johnson Jr. 23. He had a question he wanted to ask you. He says that he debated asking you this. I thought about waiting for you on this podcast, right?
Right.
But he wanted to know your perspective. In as many words as you can get in a single, at this point it was a tweet, but now we can probably put it on the podcast about what do you think is wrong with this Ravens team? Is it Lamar? Is it coaching? Other players? He just doesn't get it. And we know Lamar knows Baltimore, played in Baltimore. You look at this team, and you see the Giants just kind of stuck around, came back and won against that Buffalo team. I mean, against the Ravens.
Right.
And you're thinking to myself, okay, why are we not able to score points in the second half? If I'm Lamar Jackson, whatever, I'm trying to clear up space, going back to offense corner. Like, how do I correct this? How do we get the ball moving? How do we give ourselves more opportunities to score in the second half?
Right.
Does that conversation need to happen? Or has it happened, you think? The podium is yours, my friend.
So
drop some dollars, BP. You're going to school.
You want me to attack the game first, or you want me to attack it?
I want you to attack the game first, and then answer my man's tweet over here about asking about what your thoughts about what's wrong with the Ravens.
When I look at this game against the New York Giants, once again, I gotta say this with all due respect, they were out coached, and it wasn't as bad as it's been. But when I look at this offense, and I'll continue to say this, I've said it so many times, so many people take it as hate. Lamar Jackson is a very electrifying player. He's really, really, really electrifying, right? When I look at what he's capable of doing as a quarterback, I think Lamar it's not him. Lamar missed a lot of throws in this game, whether they were low, whether they were low to the ground, thrown to the ground, whether they were low and they got batted, overthrown. When I look at this offense, everybody's talking about give him a receiver, give him a number one receiver. This team isn't ready to have a number one receiver. A number one receiver is going to expose, and he's going to expose Lamar. He's going to expose what they're doing offensively. This is not going to be good for the Baltimore Ravens. So when we look at, okay, who do they have offensively? And now, and I want to be, they just signed somebody.
Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun Jackson. I think that is a number. Deshaun, if things go the way I think, and I hope they don't, he'll be cut in 3 to 4 weeks, if that.
Who, Deshaun?
Deshaun Jackson.
Okay.
He'll be cut. So, a number one receiver is not going to come into this offense, first and foremost, to block. Number one. If you look at the receivers that they have on this football team, your number one target is your tight end. When you look at, as far as receiver play, both your receivers, Bateman, and when you look at Duvernay, these guys are I'll run a slant. I'm okay with running the slant, coach. I'm okay with running the fade every now and again. But everything else, I'm blocking, and then I'm sitting at the line, at the sticks to catch a hitch. Like, no number one receiver will come to Baltimore. Not one true number one receiver will come to Baltimore to do that. Not at all. Not at all. So, it's just one of those things, man, where this team needs to change some things up. But if they change things up, it's going to exploit what Lamar is capable of doing. Lamar can run out of a sack. He can extend plays and then wing a ball deep, or to throw. He wants to throw across the middle, and that is all grand right now. But when you come to later in the season and postseason, once they start closing that middle up, and now Lamar got to make certain throws. He made a couple good throws in this game,
right?
But when you look at it, almost every quarterback in the National Football League, including the backups, can throw a deep ball. And I want to go back to the Giants. The Giants quarterback play wasn't good either. Daniel Jones is he ain't nothing special.
They only put up 90 yards in the first half compared to 256 for the Ravens in the first half.
Right.
They were down 10 points with under 10 minutes left.
But when you look at both these quarterbacks, right?
Yep.
Offensively, the New York Giants were capable of coming out and canning a play, putting them into a new play because they see certain things or defensively from the Ravens. You see them able to, as far as the running back, look, as I watched this game, the New York Giants took some stuff from Baltimore and beat them by doing that. going 3 backs in the backfield, play action with a guy running down the seam, but putting another guy in front of him, keeping the guy wide open. That they did that. They do that stuff with the tight ends. They had three and four tight ends in the game. They beat Baltimore doing some of Baltimore stuff, and so it's just one of those things where this offense can only take you so far, and it's not Greg Roman's fault. A lot of people want to blame Greg Roman. Greg Roman is doing exactly what Lamar Jackson is capable of doing. I think everybody would agree if Lamar Jackson dropped back to throw the ball and had to make checks, because he's not making any checks. When we watch a football game, just watch it, y'all. Look, like, this is no shade. This is nothing against Lamar. He has a mouthpiece covering his mouth. By the time they even get a play, it's like 8 seconds left on the play clock. So they're saying our number 8, 99% of the time, it's true, is better than your 11. That's what the Baltimore Ravens are saying. And once again, they're not giving him any checks. So when they build certain things into the offense, when they're coming out with these heavy packages, that's only going to take them so far. That may be able to surprise the defense the first 3 series of the first half. And then they end up getting 7 points. I mean, because to be honest with you, Kenyon Drake played his butt off. 10 carries, 119 yards. That boy was running his butt off. You know, so with the misdirections and with Lamar being in that backfield, you've got to keep your eyes on him because he is electrifying. He is exciting. So he opens up plays with his legs alone. And that's what opened up certain lanes. But like I said, once again, you can only do so much when you got a heavy package in most of the game. I mean, freaking A. If I was still playing, I am not afraid of Ricard stepping out and being displaced as a receiver. I'm not afraid of that. If you want to beat me with Mark Andrews running seam benders, sit down 7 to 10 yards over the ball, and running a corner route, literally, and they run crossers. They run crosser with Oliver. This is what they're. Why are they doing things like this? Because they want Lamar moving. Greg Roman is helping Lamar. You take Greg Roman from this offense, Lamar will get exposed. He will get exposed. And I mean, once again, the New York Giants defensively, they got after him. He threw a pick. He fumbled a snap, then turned around to try to make a play, and then he fumbled careless in the pocket. He is an athlete. I'm not taking. He is not a top quarterback. I'm just when it comes down to body of work, right? He's not a top quarterback to me. When it comes down to body of work over the years, I'm not putting him up there. Why? He can't win the big. He's exciting. He's rushing for a lot of yards. Once again, as we said before, when the competition gets stiffer, the passing yards go down, the rushing yards goes up. Why is that? That's what he does. That's his instinct.
Especially when they play man, because he excels at man.
Well,
because it opens up lanes, right?
That because you put everybody. Nobody's going to really play man against them because they know you have a quarterback. So if you play man, you got man hole. You got a man switch at times. You may blitz him with cover 0, and if you miss, that dude's gone.
That's what I'm saying. They're not going to play man against them. Exactly.
So, but when you stay back and you play your fire zones or your zones, as he's going to get, especially as the season goes on. He's going to get that, especially if they make the postseason. He's going to get that. And they're going to say, we're going to rush you to make you stay in the pocket. We're not rushing you to sack you. You're going to continue to see defensive coordinators do that. And when defensive coordinators doing that, they're saying, look, we don't trust your arm, brother. We don't. We don't trust your thinking. Why? Because there's no checks built into this offense. There's none. If they see a blitz coming from the right, Lamar look at it and go and say, hike. The blitz is going to come. What is he going to do? Run opposite way or shake somebody and run where the blitzes came from. That's what we're seeing. And then all of a sudden, now when we're putting the Baltimore Ravens in a situation where they have to pass the ball, now it gets ugly. And once again, we talk about the defense. Well, at the end of the day, the Ravens scored 10 points in the second half. They scored 10 in the first, 10 in the second. The Baltimore Ravens defense gave up 7 points in the first half. They gave up 17 in the second. I mean, this defense is really good. They're still really good. They get after the quarterback. They haven't been. I mean, like I've said before, when you look at this defense, Wink, who is the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants right now, him and a couple and I ain't gonna say Wink ran them in the ground, running cover zero all game long, blitzing. That's what we knew Baltimore for the last few years. When I left, Baltimore was get after the quarterback. We're putting our nickelbacks, our cornerbacks, safeties. We're putting them on the island and cover zero. Mm-hmm. I mean, the New York Giants got down the field on them. The only reason the Giants scored was off of mistakes that the Ravens made. It wasn't because they wasn't good enough. They just made mistakes. The rookie went and made a communication with Humphries. I put that on Twitter earlier today. He made a communication. He should have been over there. He should have been in the middle of the field, in the red zone, in the end zone. Mm-hmm. No reason he should have been there. He should have been over to the left side, right side of the football field, and been over there covering his guy so Humphries can jump that route. So this is. I mean, I'm not being whatever. This is going to continue to happen. This team is 3-3. I mean, and it doesn't get easier.
So where do you think the problem really lies in right now?
The problem lies in.
Is it the coaching? Is it Lamar? Is it
when you look at
the collective? Is it, you know what I mean?
If we've got to put the responsibility on somebody, mm-hmm. you always look at the quarterback position. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. We're looking at the success of Buffalo. Who we talking about? We're looking at the success of Kansas City. Who we talking about? When we're looking at all the downfall with Tampa Bay, who are we talking about?
The Green Bay Packers.
When we look at the Green Bay Packers, what are we talking about? Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers, he can't get the ball to his receivers. Well, even though he threw for 246, at the end of the day, his receivers dropping balls. But who do we talk about? Aaron Rodgers. So when we talk about the Baltimore Ravens, we've got to talk about Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. And why do we talk about Lamar Jackson? It's because this offense is built for him. It's built for him. If Lamar get hurt, and his backup quarterbacks come in, why do you think all his backup quarterbacks play like him, kind of, in a sense? Look like him, kind of, in a sense? Mm-hmm. Why? Because they got to find somebody that's capable of doing some of the stuff that he's capable of doing. Mm-hmm. They ain't exciting as Lamar, but they're capable of doing some of those things. Right. And so when I look at this offense, you've got to say, and I really don't want to blame Wink, because at the end of the day, I want to say, Wink, you did a heck of a job. You won a lot of football games. You didn't get the postseason play because, I mean, everybody found out your offense. So it really ain't Wink. We got to say Lamar. Like, Lamar has got to say, you know what, as a pro, because what did he do in the offseason? Everybody thought Lamar got bigger so he could take hits. Why is my quarterback going to get bigger to take hits? I mean, if my quarterback is buffing up, that's going to affect his throwing. Put muscles in his shoulders and rotator cuff and all that. We need him to be able to wing that ball. We don't need him to be sitting there buffing up to take hits. We need him to sit in that pocket. And I'm not trying to say Lamar needs to be like Brady. Lamar needs to be like Aaron Rodgers. Because I understand there are mobile quarterbacks in the National Football League. I get it. But you show me one that's won a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Show me one. When everybody, all these gurus get on TV. Oh, man, don't.
Define mobile. Is Russell Wilson a mobile quarterback?
Russell Wilson's a mobile quarterback. He uses his mobility to open up lanes to throw the football. Mm-hmm. I was talking to my son about this last week. Mm-hmm. My son was like, "Dad, can Russell Wilson run?" I said, "Yes." Mm-hmm. I said, when Russell take off running, he surprises a lot of people. They be like, "I didn't know he can run like that." Mm-hmm. Russell just doesn't run to run. But when he needs to extend the play, Russell can run. Mm-hmm. He can. And, I mean, that's one thing a lot of people need to understand. So, once again, running is Lamar's first thing. That's what he's great at.
Right.
He's not great at throwing the football. And I think a lot of people would agree with that, but some people are going to say, oh, Bernard, you hate. Lamar is not great at throwing the football. He's not. Lamar is great at running, and that's what's going to pull the defense up, and then, boom, he popped the ball. And I already said, most quarterbacks in the National Football League, I would say 99 to 100% of the quarterbacks in the National Football League can throw a fade or a post. And when he throws it, I mean, he beat everybody, you know, so he ran out the pocket. Nobody can catch him. He made people fall. And if the cornerbacks got bad eyes, safety got bad eyes, they looking at Lamar, guess what? They got behind him. He throwing that ball down the football field. But when it's time to throw hitches, circus routes, whip routes, things of that nature, corners consistently and all that, he can't. And, I mean, it is what it is. You can sit here and say whatever you want to say about me. But at the end of the day, show me the Baltimore Ravens postseason play since we left Baltimore. If you got something to say, since Lamar has been the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, you have got to show me what is wrong with their postseason play. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. BP is taking us all to school and talking about, the trouble is up in Baltimore, and they got to figure some things out.
They got to.
Definitely got to figure some things out. I don't think that they're a wide receiver away. I feel like there's a lot of talent on that team. I feel like they're just a couple games they got away from them this year, and there's a couple that are just like, this is just a bad loss. This is just a bad performance from Lamar Jackson, personally. How I feel about it. That's my opinion on that. But going from one quarterback that had a bad weekend to another one, and we're on our final segment here on In My Opinion, and that's Tom Brady.
Ooh.
Yeah. Tom Brady took 11 days off in the preseason, takes off every Wednesday, left last Friday to go to Robert Kraft, his former owner of the Patriot that he played for, a team that he played for his wedding. Flew back by himself to Pittsburgh and loses to Kenny Pickett, who we just talked about a week ago.
Right.
When I look at Aaron Rodgers, there is so much more to unpack there than many believe. When I looked at him, I'm like, oh boy, he's losing more than his cool. Let's just be real. He looks like he is just like he's starting to slip from his grasp on everything and his touch. You look at this team, maybe having a midlife crisis. I don't know. At 45, he's dealing with a lot on that plate. Now, I don't know, Bernard, if you ever dealt with anything like this at the teams you played for with not, of a player of a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers-esque, if you will. But if you look at what Tom Brady's going through, how does this affect this Buccaneers team? Because Todd Bowles came out and said, hey, we're not giving any special treatment to Tom Brady. Look, if you look at Tom Brady's resume, if he got special treatment, is there really a concern there? Because he deserved. The guy's won 7 Super Bowls, been to 10. He's done everything. But now, it just seems like you're looking at a Buccaneers team that's 3-3. Can't figure them out. They've got injuries, whether Mike Evans, whatever. And you can't even pin the whole loss to the Steelers on Tom Brady. Was he a part of it? Yeah.
Right.
But we're talking about a Buccaneers team that had one of the best defenses in the NFL. And Chase Claypool decided that he was going to go full ham mode on them with Kenny Pickett and Trubisky, because Kenny Pickett was knocked out with an injury. How does this affect the morale of this team? The Buccaneers coming in as one of the top 2 teams in the NFC.
Ray, I look at this football team, and I think we've all have heard the rumors and all this other stuff that's going on. I think this sucks for any team, but when you have a figure like Tom Brady, some guys are going to get special treatment. You know what I mean? From the coach. Like, guys are going to get that. I understand that, right? But, when you're a team dealing with a lot of injuries, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and before I even talk about the injuries, when a guy is not at practice and he's off doing something else, he's good enough, and he should be able to get the treatment. He should. But the team doesn't receive that well. And that right there can be a herder for your team. Guys can lose respect in the coach for allowing him to do that. Because at the end of the day, throughout the week, I don't know when he left. They said he left. I don't know when he left to go to the wedding. But if he wasn't there, because at the end of the day, if you play Sunday, your Monday is going to be pretty cool, chill. Tuesday, you're going to be off. Wednesday, it's going to be, more of a kind of grind it out, walk through but jog through. Thursdays are your work days. I don't know if he was there Thursday. So if he wasn't there working on Thursday, then everybody's grinding. Your backup quarterback in. Fridays are mainly a walkthrough, and you're already dealing with a depleted football team because of injuries. So it's one of those things now where Saturday you travel. You got to walk through and then you travel. So if you're not playing at home. So it's just one of those things where, teams are going to look at that. And then with all the other stuff, man, like the game of football, I need everybody to understand the game of football takes a lot out of you. But what a lot of people fail to realize, when you have a family, that takes a lot from them. And for me as a football player, we have 4 kids. I wasn't able to see my first 2 grow like that. Why? Because I was always playing football. My third, my baby girl, she came to a couple games, but she really doesn't really remember. My son, our fourth, he doesn't know anything about me with football. None. He just sees pictures and everything else, and he asks questions. But, football takes up time. It takes up so much time. And he's done it for 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how long him and his wife been married, but all of this other stuff, when all of that is going down, that is tough. That's tough on the family when you bring kids into it, especially. Mm-hmm. So now you're missing, especially as they get older, you're missing with their events, their sports, all this other stuff, the recitals, the parent-teacher conferences. You're missing all of that. Mm-hmm. And when that woman is at home and she like, yo, like, hey, you done did it all. You got how many championships? You didn't been the man. You didn't we got a great life. Mm-hmm. Why do you need to keep going back? Some people play football and stay around because they don't want to be at home. This is why I do not want to coach in the National Football League. And no shot against no coach. Most coaches, a lot of coaches should say most, they don't like their families. Mm-hmm. So they stay in football. Mm-hmm. I said it. Most coaches don't like their families. So they coach for a long time. Mm-hmm. Players stay away from home because they don't want to be home. When you go home, that's not reality. Or when you go home, reality sets in. When you're away from home, getting all the special treatment, that's why a lot of guys can't retire. When you playing football, you can go to any restaurant you want to. You can go anywhere you want to go. And you're going to be put at the front. Why? Because your name, what you're doing, because they see you. Once you stop playing, that mess stops. It cuts off. And a lot of guys fight. They struggle with that. And I thank God, because that's not something that I miss the game, right? I don't miss the preparation. I don't. Because I prepare too hard. I put a lot into it. But I miss the competition on Sunday. Mm-hmm. I don't miss the babysitting Monday through Saturday. I don't miss it. And I babysit a lot. I mean, freaking we had dudes that we had to go wake up because they was drunk. They drank all week, and we had to go get them. Teams hiring third-party companies to get guys to go bring them to practice. They come smelling and sweating out all the liquor. I don't miss that. I don't miss that, Ray. But some guys are attracted to that. They don't want reality. They want all the benefits to life, but they don't want the reality of family or something. And I'm not saying this is him, but potentially, I don't know, the way things have gone, I mean, I can only pinpoint it on one thing, one or two things. And, it sucks because that starts to flow into the locker room. Mm-hmm. Even though you may try to be like, no, I'm going to keep this at home. And you see all the signs and everything above the door before you come in, keep everything at home. Don't bring it past these doors. Yeah, all right. That sounds good. But when I got all kind of custody battles and court hearings and this and that, and I got divorce paperwork and divorce lawyers and all my business getting out, and I can't go nowhere because as soon as somebody see my name, they putting out this and that. It starts to carry over on the football field. And I mean, he plays well. He's playing well. But at the same time, it's just everything around him. You know what I mean? Like, people can be pissed. And that's going to potentially affect your team.
Well, before we end this show, I want you to answer this in a few words or less. Mm-hmm. You've got 2 quarterbacks who struggle this year.
Yeah.
Packers, Aaron Rodgers. Bucks, Tom Brady. Both future Hall of Famers, right?
Right.
Which one has more concern? The Packers or the Buccaneers?
I'm gonna go with Aaron, or not Aaron, but Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You think the Buccaneers sits with them?
Yeah, I think.
I figured that's where you'd go with that. Yeah. I just wanted to see what your thoughts are on that because I think you spoke eloquently about how the struggles of that in terms about if you're in that locker room about what they're experiencing there. But well, Bernard, there's so much to unpack. I mean, it seems like every week something different, right? With the NFL. I mean, that's just what it is. Yeah. Full of drama, and that's what we love. And so, but here, In My Opinion, we try to make sense of it as best as we can. For all those who are out there watching, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. We'll be here next Saturday. We're going to be, this Saturday. Sorry, we're going to be doing this Saturday coming up, talking about our future Week 7 preview and some games, whatever. So, for BP, I'm Ray Dosky. Until next time, this is In My Opinion.